Record now. And it looks like it's recording.
Yeah, excellent.
Right, here we go. So the first question I had from everybody was, okay, why do I have days where I feel semi-okay and able to do jobs and function, and then I go back to being completely unbalanced again a day or two later?
So, migraines are like that. You don't have, it's an episodic creature. It comes and goes. So, there'll be times when it's good and times when it's bad. So it will vary. Even if you have constant dizziness, like some of my vestibular migraine patients have triple PD. Even with, constant dizziness, there are some good days and bad days. The other thing to remember as well is sometimes people tend to overdo things on the good days. So when they're feeling fine, then they start to do more. Like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. I can go on a roller coaster. I can go running. I can play video games for hours on end. Stay up all night, drink red wine. And so sometimes that also is the issue where you tend to overdo things, or you feel that you're capable of doing more, and then you take on more work, and then the stress may build up more, and that also can aggravate things. So there are two possibilities there, right? One is the nature of the beast itself. It does wax and wane, and the other thing is some people just feel better on the good days, and then they overdo things, and that triggers the migraine attack.
Makes complete sense. Right, I will go to question 2. Okay. What's the difference between PPPD and vestibular migraine? And even for me, this confuses me. I don't really understand the differences.
It is a tough one. It is a tough one there. So triple PD, for readers or your followers who don't know the full name, it's persistent postural perceptual dizziness. So triple PD is a condition very similar to post-traumatic stress disorder. So in post-traumatic stress disorder, you have some initial trauma, and then it puts the brain into a state of dizziness that can last for a very long time. And if PTSD is not doesn't cause the dizziness, but PTSD, that's the trauma, and then it puts the brain in this state of fear, of anxiety, nightmares, flashbacks that can last for a very long time. So in triple PD, what happens is you either have like really bad vertigo, or you have some really bad form of dizziness, or a serious medical condition, or some very bad form of stress. Let's say going through a divorce, a breakup, or something really happens at work. And that puts the brain in this state of dizziness. And that dizziness, for some reason, can last a really, really long time. Now, triple PD's dizziness tends to be pretty constant, right? It can wax and wane a bit, but you don't really have super bad days where, you're down and you can't do anything, unlike migraines. So it tends to be more, this little waxing and waning thing that goes on for a long, long time. Whereas with vestibular migraine, although you have a lot of dizziness, even when you're not having an attack, what tends to happen is you have these spikes, these attacks that come. Those are your migraine attacks. The attacks of vertigo, of really bad dizziness, that come accompanied by migraine features, the light and sound sensitivity, the headache, or the visual aura. And a lot of patients get, those are the criteria, but a lot of patients get additional symptoms. Some get ringing in the ears, pressure in the ears, pain in the ears. Like for you, for example, brain fog can be an issue there. Word finding difficulties can be a bit of a problem. A lot of people actually get blurry vision. Some people have other weird stuff, scalp pain, tingling in the face, in the limbs, many things can happen there. Now, if you have vestibular migraine and triple PD, then what you're going to experience is this constant dizziness that waxes and wanes with superimposed attacks of vestibular migraine. So, that's kind of in a nutshell the difference between the two. So triple PD is more the constant one, and vestibular migraine is, you get these spikes and attacks.
That makes so much sense, because I was dizzy 24/7 for like 2 years solid with migraines on top. So thank you for that. That makes complete sense to me now. So we will go to question 3.
Sure.
What is this is going to be tricky for you, because obviously not one treatment works for everybody, but people wanted to know, what is the single most effective treatment you have seen for your patients? So the most effective treatment that you've found to really work for people, because it's tricky because everyone's on different meds in my group. Some work for some don't for others, you know?
Correct. So it's difficult to say, like, pick one single one, because again, we don't have the data to compare, you know, one single medication to another and to make say which one is better than the other. So because everyone is different, you know, it varies a lot. Generally. So I do tend to have more patients on, you know, topiramate or Topomax. You know, mainly because, you know, a lot of people want the additional, you know, weight loss benefit from it.
Okay.
Yeah, because it does curb the appetite and it does cause weight loss. So people, you know, are attracted to that. And so, you know, generally, I do have quite a large population of people who take topiramate and Topomax because they want the weight loss, right? And so, you know, that may probably be selection bias. So, you know, I have more people on topiramate, and that's why, you know, I tend to see, you know, more benefit with that. But it could be just selection bias.
That's so interesting because I started putting on weight on certain medications. A big fear of the group is putting on weight. So oh, wow, I had no idea.
Or, you know, sometimes if you do take a medication that causes you to gain weight, what I do is sometimes I add topiramate on board to counteract the weight gain.
This is going to be so helpful to everybody. Thank you.
You know, but you know, again, some physicians may not want to do that because you know, that's too many medications. But like I tell my patients, a lot of times, you know, you have to do a bit of French cooking. Little this, little that, little
exactly.
This, little that, to give you the best possible results.
Well, it's better to do that than people just completely quitting their meds, which a lot do because they're worried about putting on weight and they can't exercise that well. Actually, that goes into our next question. So number 4. Can you exercise with vestibular migraine? I mean, would you advise people to exercise?
Absolutely. The worst thing you can do is sit down and do nothing. You must exercise. You must stay physically active. You know, you cannot just veg out on the couch or on the bed, although, you know, it's very tempting to do that. That's the last thing you must do. You know, exercise is great. It has, you know, a lot of benefits. It can even reduce migraine frequency. You know, just exercise alone, even without medications, exercise alone can help migraines. And so, you know, exercise is a must. Now, the degree of exercise, of course, is different, right? So a lot of people with vestibular migraine have trouble, you know, with the dizziness if they have to, you know, engage in exercises that, you know, involve a lot of hand movement. So if they have to bounce around a lot, you know, jump up and down, you know, do burpees, for example, you know, that is a little too much for most of them. And so, you know, you want to kind of find exercises that you can do, you know. You don't want to do stuff that would be too easy. You don't want to engage in exercises that are too simple, that don't challenge you. You want to do things that kind of push your limit a little bit. So, you know, choose, and everyone is different. So, you know, you want to choose something that makes you at least a little bit uncomfortable towards the end. Then you have to really give it that extra push to get through. You know, then that's how, you know, you're kind of pushing your limits. And, you know, as time goes by, you will find that, you know, you're able to do more and more and more and more. You know, you don't just go off, you know, from not doing much exercise to suddenly running a marathon. Definitely won't work. You're going to get into trouble. And so you want to slowly build it up. So, you know, like I always tell my patients, you know, if you're able to say walk for 5 minutes without feeling dizzy, and, you know, after that you start to get dizzy, then, you know, aim for 6 minutes. You know, you get a little uncomfortable, but try for 6 minutes. And then as you find that you're able to do it, push 7, 8, go up more and more and more. And, you know, once you can do, you know, walk without any problems, then you can try a light jog. You know, jog a little bit, you know, see how you feel. You know, if you want to mix it up, so jog a little, walk a little, jog a little, walk a little, you know, try to find what challenges your body.
And knowing when to rest, I think that's a big one, because I was used to being very active, so it was really hard just to all of a sudden push too hard, like you said. You got to rest, you know, and then get back to it.
You don't want to push so hard that, you know, you throw yourself into a vestibular migraine attack, and then that sets you back. You know, for days you'll be like lying in bed and not doing anything.
That was a bad habit of mine, but I'm getting over that now. Thank you. So number 5 is it normal to feel unbalanced and dizzy 24/7? And that could be to do with what you said about PPPD. It's consistently there on a low level. So that kind of.
So again, maybe to rephrase it, it's not like normal. You know, you shouldn't be feeling that way, right? But it can be part of vestibular migraine. So part of it is, you know, triple PD. definitely that's triple PD. Some patients have, maladive alcohol, MDDS instead.
Yeah.
So, they feel this constant rocking as if they're on a boat all the time, and that makes people feel kind of unsteady. Another one is, people also can experience just that sensitivity to motion that most migraine patients experience. So not necessarily triple PD, but, just moving around too quickly makes you feel a little off, going to the grocery store feels a little off, not pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, the 24/7 thing. Oh.
Yep.
So
and it's a spectrum. Yeah. It's a spectrum, the 24/7 one. On one hand, you have patients who are just a little uncomfortable in certain environments, like, what's the big one? Tesco. Yes. You all have Tesco.
Yeah. Oh my God,
good old Tesco.
Even office lighting, anything like
Yep.
that. Everything. In the early days, I couldn't even cross the road. It was a mission with the cars coming, and I thought they were really close to me, like I was going to get hit, but they were actually quite far away, and my perception was completely off. But yeah. So number 6, do you feel that diet really makes an impact when it comes to vestibular migraines? Because this is a bit mixed. I've had people say it doesn't make that much difference, and others say no, it's it could be massive triggers that can really affect you.
I think it depends also on where you're starting off at. If you drink a lot of caffeine, so if you're drinking tea all day long and tons of caffeine going in, then of course, and then just they do it too here in the South. They drink a lot of iced tea. And so, if they cut back on caffeine, if you're drinking a lot of caffeine and having a lot of migraine attacks, cutting back on the caffeine can help significantly. If you're eating a lot of, junk food, for example, cutting that down, can definitely help. If you're eating, a lot of, like, say, MSG, excessively salty foods, a lot of, fermented foods, and you're having a lot of attacks, then definitely cutting those down can help you. But if you're already, not drinking much caffeine, you're eating sensibly, a fairly healthy diet, then, diet control may not impact you as much, but you could still benefit from avoiding certain triggers, so, like chocolates, for example, the smelly cheeses, certain foods, very fermented foods, if you avoid those, nuts, that could potentially avoid you from getting more attacks, but it won't necessarily make what you're having better. So it depends where you start off with. And so, if you're starting off with, a very unhealthy, quote unquote, migraine unfriendly type of diet, and changing that could result in a lot of improvement. But if you're already eating sensibly, not too many, unhealthy, migraine unfriendly foods, then, changing your diet may not impact you as much.
Because I know alcohol is a hit and miss to some people. I mean, with me, I know it's like a vestibular suppressor, so it does take the edge off, like, the anxiety and the dizziness, but then you've got to be really careful. You can't rely on that either. So what's your advice on alcohol? I mean, is that a yay or nay kind of thing? That's a big one in the group. People are saying they would never drink. Others are like, yay, I'm going to go out and party, It should be me.
So the alcohol will help with the triple PD part of things. PPPD, because it decreases the anxiety. So it cuts down the anxiety. So a lot of times, people feel better after they have a drink. Because then they're not focused as much on their dizziness. Now, when it comes to migraines, it's a little bit trickier. So, it could help the triple PD part, but it could also aggravate your migraines. It depends on the type of alcohol. So number one, people who have migraines are more prone to the hangover headaches. Yes. So that's one thing to remember. So if you drink too much, and the amount of alcohol needed to create the hangover headache is much lower in people with migraines compared to people without migraines. And so, after a night out drinking, the next day you may get an attack from the alcohol, although you may not have one immediately. The type of alcohol also plays a role. So if alcohol itself may not really trigger a migraine attack within a few hours, but the type of drink that you consume can do it too. So, they did a study where I think they gave, for the same amount of alcohol, vodka versus red wine, the same amount, vodka doesn't cause any problems, but red wine triggers migraine attacks. And so, there are other things in the beverage that could potentially aggravate migraines. It's not alcohol per se. You have the tannins, you have the sulfites, you have tyramine, you have all kinds of stuff in the red wine that could potentially trigger migraines. And then it also depends on the region for some weird reason. So like some of the Italian studies, the French studies say red wine doesn't really do it. It's the sparkling wine or champagne that could do it.
Yeah.
But the one that has the least provocative triggers for migraine would be vodka for sure. If you want to drink,
that's one of those. The first drink you had a bad experience on. Mine was vodka. Never again. I'm going to stick to my Jack Daniels. I think.
The darker ones can trigger migraines. The clear ones tend to be okay. So like gin would be okay.
Yeah, I like gin. Okay, I'm going to remember that. Thank you. So number 7, we have, once you recover, this is a big one for me as well, actually. Once you recover, can it come back as bad as it was? I think that's most people's fear, because I was bedridden for weeks and weeks. It took about 2 years to walk properly again, because I was like this. I had to build up, like you said, every day, just walking to the garden, touching the fence and coming back, and I'd sleep.
Yep.
It took months and years. So
goodness.
Yeah.
So it can, unfortunately.
Oh,
there is that possibility there, because so migraines are caused by genetic and environmental factors, right?
Yes.
So the genes are there. You cannot, change that, unfortunately. So the genetics are there, the predisposition is already there. Now, what I tend to notice is people who are well controlled generally tend to stay pretty well controlled.
Okay.
That's good, right?
Yes.
The situations where it can actually get bad are those when you are exposed to some unusual triggers, like stress. Let's take stress, for example. If you suddenly, for some weird reason, some really bad stress comes into your life, something really unexpected, that can bring them all up again. Sometimes it's also a mixture of stuff. So let's say, you're exposed to that stress, during, that, if you're sensitive to it during your cycle and you're having your period at that time, and that stress comes on, and you happen also to be sick around that time, let's say you're having the cold or something, that whole confluence of factors can also bring them back up again. Another one I tend to see is childbirth. So, pregnancy, people tend to be really well controlled, but then the huge drop in hormones after you deliver the baby, that can bring everything up again too.
Yeah, wow.
Yep.
Okay, that's really good to know. Thank you for that. That's a big one for all of us.
So those, those are the main situations you can say. It's not that common, which is great, but it can happen.
It can.
The good news is, we know what we would be dealing with, right? And, if you know what medications you have on hand, what worked for you in the past, you can just use them again.
Well, I have your book now, and nothing existed like that 5 years ago. Honestly, I wish it did. It's been like a game changer for me. I just wish I read it sooner and it was, available to all of us. So,
I wrote it during the coronavirus lockdown. Well, we all locked down, decided to write.
Wow. Thank you so much, by the way. Thank you. So number 8, how important is it to keep a positive mindset? Now, this is in your book, and I agree with what you said. So people want to know, how important is it? Because you can get so depressed with this. I was so depressed,
So depression is a bad thing there. It goes hand in hand with migraine. And the trouble is, the more depressed you are, the worse the migraines tend to get. So people who have chronic migraine, who have like headaches almost every single day, they also tend to be the more depressed people. Now you can argue, is it because they are depressed that they get those daily headaches, or is it because you're having a headache every day that you get depressed? So you get a little circular argument there. But depression and migraine definitely go hand in hand. It's important to have a more positive outlook because of several things. Number one, if you're very pessimistic about recovery, then you're going to, most likely rob yourself of, responding well to any medication. We do talk about that a little bit in the book, the nocebo effect, where if you don't really believe that you're going to get better, chances are you're not going to get better.
Yeah.
You rob yourself of it. That's why, like during clinical trials, some people, although they get the placebo, if they believe that they're going to get a side effect from it, they will get a side effect from it. It's how strong your mind is. And so, having that positive outlook, always thinking, and it's not irrationality that I'm recommending. It's not, you have to fix a smile on your face and go running around town. No, but I think having some optimism that, things can get better. And in fact, things do get better. Most of my patients, 90% of my patients get better, and go back to living, regular lives. And, I think you also can attest to that. People do get better. You will get better. But having that positivity, that optimism, that number one, it lifts your mood, and number two, of course, it doesn't create that whole nocebo effect for you.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a heavy one. I mean, this could be a whole nother 3 hours on the the anxiety, depression side of things. So
yep,
we will we will go to number 9, or you will be here all night. Can you explain why so many, this is big as well. Can you explain why so many people with VM experience exhaustion, like absolute can't lift your arm, like you can't do anything? It's like chronic fatigue a little bit,
Yep. Part of it can be the whole migraine thing. So people can experience fatigue as part of the migraine attacks. It can be in the prodromal phase. So, the days leading up to a migraine attack, a lot of people experience more fatigue. They're kind of down. Some people have appetite changes, but a lot of people find that they sleep more than usual. And, after a migraine is over, a lot of people also experience that whole let down, and they get really tired after a migraine, and then they just want to sleep after a migraine attack is over. For the migraine, the whole chronic fatigue thing, if that happens all the time, another issue that is possible is, sleep is another consideration. If you're not sleeping well, then you're going to be very tired all the time from, day to evening. Medications also a very important thing to consider. If you're on medications that make you really drowsy, that also can cause issues. Unfortunately, a lot of the migraine medications can do that. Beta blockers, for example, they will lower your blood pressure a little bit. And so if your blood pressure is a bit down, you will feel tired. Beta blockers also, reduce your exercise tolerance. So you may not be able to exercise as well as you normally did if you're taking those medications. The tricyclic antidepressants like amitriptyline are known for making people really sleepy. It's good if you have insomnia, but if you don't, or if you're taking really high doses, then you can be kind of like sleepy all the time. We talked about topiramate earlier, but unfortunately, one of the pesky side effects is, people can get really foggy, really tired all the time. So that can be also an issue. So medication side effects is one. I'm not sure how is it in in the UK, but in the US, a lot of people like to prescribe meclizine for people who have dizziness or vertigo from any cause, and that is a terrible one to use because it makes people perpetually sleepy and tired. So I hate that medication. It's useless. I never use it. Benzodiazepines too, like Xanax, Valium, clonazepam. It's often prescribed for vertigo and dizziness, and those also cause a ton of tiredness, a ton of sleepiness, and so that can be part of it too. Another consideration is the dizziness itself. So if you're dizzy all the time, and what happens is you're constantly thinking of your balance. So a normal person who doesn't have dizziness, doesn't have migraines, when they walk across the room or walk down the hall, they don't even have to think about it. They just walk. And it's a subconscious thing. Your brain automatically, adjusts your balance, calibrates your balance, takes you down the hall without a problem. The trouble, what happens if you have dizziness, especially with vestibular migraine, is your whole brain starts to have to think about it. All right, so if I walk, I cannot move my head. I have to turn really slowly, going around the corner. I have to make sure I'm close to the wall. So instead of it being an automatic process, you end up having to think about every single step, and that is exhausting. You're spending your mental energy thinking about all these things, which should happen on a subconscious basis. And finally, it's the migraine itself. It's one of the possible pathophysiologic explanations for migraine is that it is a problem of bioenergetic metabolism. And so, that's why supplements like vitamin B2, magnesium, coenzyme Q10 work, because there's something wrong. The brain is not metabolizing energy as well as it should. And this, most likely is a genetic issue that's causing that. And so, that also may be responsible for a lot of the fatigue and tiredness that people experience.
Because I've just started on magnesium as well, because I read what you said about like 50% of VM sufferers are usually magnesium deficient. And exactly. I must admit, I've been on it for about a week and I don't feel as tired and I'm not as dizzy. I had a bad relapse recently, but I do think it's actually working for me, which is amazing.
Excellent. Yeah.
Right, and we have the last one that flew by. So we have the last one.
we can have a few more if you want.
We might need to after this because it's just going to be like blow up. Everyone's going to be like, ah. Right,
so we can arrange a part 2 anytime you like.
Yay!
We'll have to accommodate. Hang on, we have to adjust for the time difference too.
I'll bring my gin next time as well. I mean, honestly, this is water. I'm not drinking a pint of gin right now. Right, number 10. Why does hormone replacement therapy help some women but trigger others? Because some say it's really helped them and others are like, it's I can't take it, you know?
I think it goes back to how different everyone is, you know. So vestibular migraine is not a uniform thing, you know. It's not like, you know, horrible example is, you know, Ebola right? So if you say Ebola, right, it manifests in certain ways. But vestibular migraine is a very heterogeneous type of condition. That's why some people get spinning, some people get, you know, rocking, some people get swaying, tumbling. There are many different manifestations. Yeah. Some people's attack lasts for a few hours, some a few days. You know, some have an attack once a year, some have an attack twice a year, some have attacks twice a week, right? Yeah. And, you know, it goes back also to why some people do well on some medications and not other medications, right? And so I think if the hormonal issue was to blame for the onset of vestibular migraine, so let's just say if we can pinpoint it, you know, and most people have that, you know, pinpointing it to the onset of menopause, you know, as the hormone levels start to drop, then usually in those cases, some replacement can be of benefit. If we cannot find a clear link to that, or if the migraines, vestibular migraines were not triggered by the menopausal change in hormones, then hormonal replacement probably won't work. Right. The other question to consider also is the amount of hormones you're getting. So, you know, there are different dosages for everything. So that also may play a role in it. Some people get, you know, a little higher estrogen content, some people a little lower. So that also may have something to do with the why some people get better and some don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky question as well, because it's like medication. One medication will work for somebody and for someone else it'll be horrendous. And so many people are scared of medication, but that's number 10. That's it for this evening. And do you know what I'm terrified of? I'm recording this and I'm really worried if I press stop. It should save it, shouldn't it? If I press stop,
I think it should. I think so.
But anyway, because this is incredible. I will die if we lose this right now. But
you can do another one. It's okay.
I think we'll have to, because I'm going to post this in a few migraine groups. So there's going to be so many people. Honestly, the questions are going to. We had like over 80. I had to stop the comments before because I thought it's just going to. It would have gone on to 100 and something. But
I don't mind doing it. You know, a second part with you. You know, to get more questions. You know, it's always good to field questions. You know, help everyone. Yep.
There will be. So thank you so much for this. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Everybody with VM, because this is all going to go out for the groups now. And enjoy your, what's the time there now?
3:30 in the afternoon.
I was going to say enjoy your evening, but anyway, enjoy your day. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Yep, take care. Talk soon.
Thank you, Shin.
All right.
Bye.
All right, take care. Bye.